So I'm joined here now by former Dublin and Kilmacud Crokes footballer Johnny Magee. I suppose good to have you on, Johnny. Obviously, to look back at your time, obviously playing with the Dublin Senior Footballers, Kilmacud Crokes, and obviously your time in management as well. I suppose first of all, how's things with yourself?
Yeah, all good. Thanks for having us on, Aaron. Appreciate it. Yeah, look, all good. Yeah, just came back to a bit of normality back in the skills in the GPO for Geraldine P. So back in the skills in the last few weeks, and the juveniles back training on Tuesdays and Thursdays in the weekend. So, and then look, my own kids and stuff. So I would say back to a busy house, thank God. Passing ships with my wife and the kids and stuff. So between the two, we're GA out the door, which is a nice complaint to have, because we haven't had it for a good while.
100%, yeah. And I suppose obviously we had the Dublin and Kerry game yesterday, which is obviously a cracker of a game. Like what did you make of the game yourself?
Yeah, look, I watched. I was watching that game, and I was watching Lauren's match as well. So her match was on at the same time in Parnell Park. So I had the lads match on the phone and Lauren's match on the TV. So I was watching between the two. So yeah, when like the girls were doing a lot better, so I was start watching more of the men's game, and yeah, look, I mean, it was good. It was good, some good football being played, considering it's only the second match in, and some good football. Really enjoyed the mix up of with Dublin, with the directness of some of the ball going in. Niall Scully sent in a big long one in the con for one of his goals, which is great to see. So it's great to see that they're mixing it up. And look, come here, it was like the stats coming from it from both teams was very good in terms of attacking side of things, which is great. I always felt that Dublin were kind of in second gear. For some reason, it looked like Kerry were a bit fitter, but like Dublin were a bit more cuter at times. But look, yeah, I just think if Kerry going to ship 4 goals like that, and Dublin probably should have another two, you're there kind of thinking like down the line, but like when Dublin are at full tilt, will they be able to contain Dublin? That'd be the question I'd have. And look, you're hoping. Look, well, as a dub, you obviously want the lads going with another All Ireland, but the rest of the country and the world won't want that. But it's great to see them way they're mixing it up. But it was disappointing to see John Small go off yesterday, because it looked like he did a good job on the hammer. But look, it was a great game of football for the second weekend into the league,
Yeah, 100%. And I suppose, yeah, the second half performance, I suppose, was a little bit maybe uncharacteristic of Dublin. I suppose normally they're so good at seeing those games out. Like, would you say it is just maybe just because it's a league game and maybe they just weren't up to full speed, or is there anything
Yeah,
more to look into there?
yeah, no, definitely. That's the way I look at it. Look, I think they're not operating at maximum. I felt Kerry were probably the fitter of the two. They looked a bit more probably. Probably looks a bit more kind of enthusiastic in the last quarter. Particularly, they were a little bit more on the ball. They were more about them. But look, I'd say, look, Dublin are probably just or I'd say they're probably gauging themselves, whether they're able to have that luxury with Leinster, to be peaking for semi-final stage. Unfortunately for us, for Leinster teams and ourselves, and look for the neutral looking in, whereas Kerry probably don't have that luxury, because they know, look, they're gonna, what happened last year with them, they got caught. I don't think they want to get caught again. They got a lot of criticism, and Julie so because of the way they were going defensively, and putting wing backs as wing forwards against Cork, you're just there like that, took their eye off the ball, and look, they paid the price, the ultimate price.
Mm. Yeah, and I suppose in that game as well, we've seen obviously a few different rules, I suppose, being implemented, like the advantage rule, and then you have the penalty rule that was on display in the Dublin Roscommon game. Like, what's your take on all that? I don't think anyone's really a fan of
Come
a lot
here,
of these
look.
changes at the moment.
Yeah, look, come here. It's you know what, they're tinkering around with the game. I don't know what the story is, and just leave the game alone. And I was envious of how the hurling were being let alone, and now they're messing them around. Now it's just, I don't know what the story is. Just leave the game alone and let them play football. And like this thing about rewarding a mark, are we trying to turn into Aussie rules or not? Like rewarding players for catching the bleeding ball. Like seriously, for a defender to catch a ball and he puts the hand up, and then a forward to catch a ball. Like I caught glimpses of the Westmeath and Mayo or today. I think it was Tomas Shade mentioned it as well. I watched it like nothing marks, 20-yard pass to the side to retain possession. Like, are we going to coach the instincts out of our players just to catch a ball rather than teach them how to play 1v1, win a ball and take the man on, or like as a forward or as a defender to be able to defend 1-on-1. And that's the one thing that Dublin strength has been, and I don't think they get the recognition for it, is that they're 1-on-1 defending when they're up against any opposition is the best that's out there, and it allows them to play the game that they can play because they can trust that Johnny Cooper or Mick Fitzsimons or Murch or John Small can mind himself 1-on-1 with whoever they're left with, so they can go and play a more expansive football. Like, it's about defending and getting the ball back as quickly as possible when you don't have the ball. When you have the ball, you go forward as quickly as possible, and and they're messing around with the game and they're destroying it in my opinion. Just leave it alone. Take away the marks. This thing about the kickouts or the trying to control everything. Look, the game evolves, and the big thing for me, I suppose, what's happened now is that Dublin have mastered the counteract the blanket defence, and still teams are going out implementing blanket defences. And the problem is what I find is that they spend so much time of coaching teams to stand in defensive positions in zones that they've coached the actual instincts of players to play on the front foot, to play with a bit of freedom, not being afraid to give a ball away. If a 60-40 passes on, they rather give sideways or backwards rather than being picked out for giving away a stat or a ball. And that's for me is where the big issue is, that and look, it's I suppose the last 10 years of teams going out and playing defensively, and it's gonna seep down, and that's where you find the teams that are Dublin have mastered, and teams no longer go 1-on-1 or go push up or go all out, attack and ask questions. You can attack with numbers, but you can defend, as well intensely when you don't have the ball. Like this thing about dropping 14 men behind the ball. I watched the Armagh game against Tyrone the other day there, and it was a Saturday evening, and like at times there, like Armagh played some fantastic football. Like they got a great goal in the second half, diagonal ball in, long ball in, turned his man bang back in there, and then there was times then there was 50 meters of space between them winning the ball back in the defence, and they had to run it. And then look, they had loads of runners, but like the ball travels quicker than a man. If they had anyone that was a link in like the half forward line to the full forward line, there was an outlet ball to be kicked. And you look at Dublin and Kerry, where there was always someone in the half forward line to link the play to the lads inside, and that's where I feel that that's where the game has been lost. This I call it easy coaching, in terms of coaches coaching players to stand like in zones or having 14 men behind the ball. And the problem is that when it comes to defenders looking to defend 1-on-1, when it does happen, then when they've been caught out, because they've been so used to having a screen in front of them, an extra player out, contain the space, and that's the problems that that side of things where I feel the game has dropped off, and that's where a lot of teams are playing safe football. And in order to beat Dublin, you're going to have to take risks, and the game's about risks. And like, how many times you see Dublin taking risks, giving the ball in, and will they stop deviating from their game plan? Absolutely not. And it's like the prime example. Sorry, I know we're going on as well, but prime example was not last year, the year before, when they drew Kerry in the first match. They were down a man. They knew they were down. They knew they had to get a score or not concede the score. And Clucko came out as the spare man. Went on Tommy Walsh, and he pushed up to squeeze live. They knew it was a gamble, but they knew they had to take it. And that was in the dying minutes of an All-Ireland final. That's being brave. That's being Okay, and people say, "Oh, well, you've won X amount and Z." All Ireland. No. That should be the way you coach your team: is to go and take risks. If the game was there to be won, go and win it, not be safely. And how many times have we seen over the last how many years teams still being 10 points down and they still stick to the same process? Look, it's not working. It's not. What was it? There was I think down had a defensive system there, and they were 2-11 down or something, and they still only got 7 points. Like, at what stage do you say, like, as players or coaches, do you say, look, like, hang a hat on something like? And from my philosophy as a coach or a former player and stuff, is that, like, go out and win a game of football. Like, the objective is to go and score when you have it. When you don't have the ball, then is trying to get the ball back as quickly as possible. And then, look, you look at Man City this year and Liverpool last year. Players who are on hundreds of thousands of pounds a week, and their attitude in terms of when they don't have the ball, how quickly they press, put the pressure put teams under pressure when they don't have the ball. Very simple, but look, here, I'll go on all day about it. But
Yeah, no, there definitely has been a lot of changes already over the past couple of years, and I definitely know for myself from watching anyway and playing myself. Like, I think we all appreciate playing on the front foot, and I think that's the way the game should be played, because that's the way a lot of us would have been brought up watching, But I suppose, like, obviously taking it back to, I suppose, your time playing for both Dublin and Kilmacud Crokes. I suppose we'll start with the Dublin Senior Footballers. Like, obviously you played for Dublin between '97 and 2007. I suppose, how would you reflect on your time with the Dubs now?
yeah, no, look, here, I suppose I look back on the fondness. I made my probably senior debut was in '96 in the Oberon Cup and down in Wexford Park. He's only, Jesus, was it 18 or something? So, and look, come here, look on it. A lot of happy memories. Made a lot of good friends. Suppose, look, would have liked to win obviously a few more Leinsters and all Ireland, but unfortunately it didn't happen. I suppose you're coming off the back of the lads from '95, and like I come in and just and end of '96, '97. So you would have the lads who would have soldiered for Dublin for a good few years of that era of the Meath saga in '91, the 4 games, and then being beat by Donegal in semi-final '92, '93 was a Derry, and then down '94 all our final, and then I suppose '95 then obviously they got across the line, but that team was looking contesting National League finals and stuff as well. So, like, we came in, like, there was a bit of a transition when I came in. Like, I suppose at that time Wheelo and Paddy Christie were just after breaking through the scenes, and then there was and Robbo, I suppose, then myself and Pater Andrews and Shane Ryan and a couple of others, Colin McGoggins, these lads, we came in then. And so, look, there was and you had the old guard then of Desi and Jim Gavin and Paul Curran, like, so there was a lot of mixture there. So, look, some great days, but I just, at times just felt we just didn't get the look on days, and but also, for a lot of the games, like, I was just, the other day at the weekend, all because of Dublin and Kerry, sorry, yesterday, and being tourless, and just 20 years since we played that trip to Tip, the All-Ireland quarter final, and looking back at it, and the first match, like, Jesus, we owned the ball. I watched it again at the weekend, just because I'm watching a lot while, and like, we owned the ball for first 15 minutes of that match, and Jesus, we met with 3 awful wides and, like, basic wides, and then I was listening to Paul Curran the other day on it as well. He said, like, it's the worst miss in Gaelic football history. He said about Desi's miss that hit the post. You know what I mean? So, there were times where you would have felt that when we dominated games, we had a lot of big physical, strong fellas, very athletic. No, not including myself in the athleticism, but anyway. But look, yeah, we had a decent team, I felt, and I just felt on any given day we were capable of beating anybody, but it was just kind of getting that consistency out. And I suppose, you would have likened to have the kind of exposure of coaching, the level of coaching and detail that's going on now. When we were playing, I would have felt, we've obviously been better players. Yeah, absolutely. But, no, look, it was a great time. Now look, I enjoyed it, but yeah, look, being a competitor, I would have liked to win more. I suppose, like, do we look back on a small bit of regret? Yeah, probably, but look, I don't like dwelling on too much. But look, yeah, look, playing for Dublin since I was 10 years of age, and all underage teams and coming through and playing senior for nearly 10 years. Look, it was nice to be able to say that I did that, and then look, obviously, pass it. I have to say my kids that look, I played for Dublin and stuff, and like Lauren playing, it was like it's nice to have, and then my other kids come through Ava and the girls, like my Ava's under the Mead on our development team or under 16 development squad at the moment. So yeah, that well, I'll support her obviously, but I'll find it very hard to show for the Royals, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, look, it's been look, I really enjoyed it. Made some great friends, some involved in some great matches. Unfortunately, fell on the other side of some of those great matches. Then get across the white line. Yeah, no, but definitely was a great time.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, like, and I suppose because between '95 and 2002, like, it was definitely I suppose, a different kind of picture of Dublin football back then. Like, there was obviously a gap between, 7 year gap between Leinster titles. Like, what do you think it even was back then? Do you think Leinster was just far more competitive back then, or would you even say maybe it was something down to Dublin back then?
No, look, there was a bit of both. Like at the time, I suppose Meath were dominant side. They won all our '96 and '99, and they beat Dublin in '96 in the final, and then we played them a few times. We played them in '99, and that was the Ollie Murphy day where look, poor Padraig was left high and dry, and it wasn't his fault. Like the pressure on the ball out the field was fucking. Excuse my language. Was no pressure on being put on the ball going in, and sure Padraig was left out to dry by the rest of us. Do you know what I mean? So and like we didn't like they bet us by a few, but look, I would have felt, if we had got our tactics a little bit better on the day, we could have had a better outgoing on that. And then I suppose then again then in 2001 we bet us in the Leinster final, and it was just unfortunate there was, I think it was a point or two, and you know mistakes happen, and mistakes throughout the different parts of the field, and like they got a fortuitous goal, and Grant Garrity got one. I think Davy Bourne I think he got dropped it, but like that's not Davy's fault. These things happen, and it was they were a strong side, and then I suppose Kildare as well in that 2000 final where we were, Jesus, 7 points up or 6 points up at half time, and we come out in the flash of an eye or a minute, the 2 goals wrapped off in a minute, and then the momentum shifts totally, and then everything that we tried didn't work, and and then like they got all the luck then, and they win it. Like I suppose so there was a combination of a bit of both. I think but there was like you couldn't get away. You probably you will get away with it. The lads will get away with it now because I don't think the teams are as good as when we were playing. Whereas I'd say if it was switched around, we could have probably got away with those mistakes if the teams weren't as if they were as strong or weren't as strong as they are now. If you get me. So, for example, like Dublin could get away with mistakes like that now, whereas back then a few mistakes by ourselves, we got punished rightly so, and I think that's the difference in the drop off in terms of the quality of teams that were involved back then. And I suppose like you're talking probably any team, any of the 8 teams were good enough to win All Ireland. Do you know what I mean? Anyone that came out of the provincials at that stage, the top 2 provincial teams that came out when the back door was there, they're more than capable of beating each other and winning. And that's what I feel is probably what the difference was or is now. But I think it was a bit of both. But like it was like 2002. Look, it was a fantastic year. But we beat me. We put the me goes to bed effectively because it was, as you said there, 7 years and we hadn't beaten it properly. So that was definitely a big marker for us because look, they won 96, 99. They were beaten pretty heavily in the All Ireland final in 01, but with a great side, like the Graham Gardy's, John McDermott, Darren Faze, and these guys, so that was a big thing for us in 2002 when we eventually broke the cycle.
Yeah, and I suppose that Armagh game then as well, like obviously in the semi-final, I suppose like a very good Armagh side. Like obviously they went on to win the All Ireland that year. Very close game. I mean, is that the one that you kind of look back at and think that's the one that probably got away from you a bit?
Yeah, no, definitely. Look, I suppose like the leading into that, like I didn't have that year was kind of a mixed bag for me in terms of look. It was great that we got to win Leinster, but I didn't play the Leinster final. I tore my cruciate and my lateral ligaments, and the main match after 5 minutes. Donald Curtis came in late on me when I kicked the ball, and as I kicked the ball, he came down to block, but came down on my knee, and my knee shot backwards. So I missed the Leinster final. And I thought my year was gone. So, but I played the rest of the game. So, if James Allen, who was I think he's still a physio with Dublin now, but he said, John, he did a cruciate test on. It was a small test on that you do. You pull the knee forward and it extends. But anyway, Johnny, I think your cruciate's gone. That was on the field. No, I'm not going off. But anyway, so played on, and we won the game, and missed the Leinster final. And they went and see Ray Moran, but he said, "Look, Johnny, the fact that I played on for 65 minutes without them," he said, "Look, the muscles around the knee are very strong. So, look, you were lucky to end your career with the lateral ligaments gone as well, because there's nothing holding my knee together effectively. So, if you get that right, you have a possibility of getting back." So, I had an 8-week window to try and get back for the All Ireland quarter final. All going well. That the lads would win the Leinster final. So my aim was, even though it killed me not to be involved with the Leinster final, was get back for the quarter final. All going well, that we beat Kildare in the final, which we did, and so we went straight to quarter. So my build up leading into the Armagh was kind of, I was in the water, in the pool a lot with the foam band around my waist and the heart monitor on, and doing less impact training. So and then leading into the two games with Donegal, I was fortunate I got in for the first game, because Paul Curran picked up a knee injury, and I reckon if he hadn't got the knee injury, I wouldn't have got in as quickly as I did, but got back in, and we drew the first game obviously, but we didn't play as well as we could have, and we were lucky. We're lucky to get the draw, but then the second match, look, we were far better. And then, look, leading into the Armagh game, as you said there, look, it's definitely one I felt we left behind us. I felt we were the better side on the day. Like, I watched it back there. I think it was on what's that, All Ireland goal thing. And I watched it back, and, we had serious opportunities to win the game at different stages, and the goal they got was a scrappy goal. It was bundled over the line by Paddy McKeever, and it was a poor goal. But we responded very well from it. We got up the fields. We won a free. I gave the ball quickly to Brogue and Allen, and Allen gave it to Wheelo on the run, and Wheelo buried an unbelievable goal. And the momentum shift back in our favour. But after that, then we missed 2 or 3, very similar to Kerry 1. We missed a few very scoreable chances to kind of pull away from Armagh, and then they rattled off the couple, and I suppose because he hit the post then at the very last kick, but I definitely felt we would have left that one behind us. We were by far the better team, played a better football, and still I would have been confident enough that we would have won the All Ireland against Kerry. Particularly, I would have felt we had gained the confidence of beating that Armagh side with the team that they had, and looking back on it, watching it, and geez, they had some serious players. And the big thing for me was, I suppose, the drop off in terms of where they went to after that. When obviously they won the All Ireland, but in terms of the consistency of their play, or the next few years, I think they won, was it the next 5? Was it how many Ulsters after that?
Contested. Yeah, I think they got to the All Ireland final in 03, I think, as well.
That's right, yeah. And for me, that was, that team that we had were very good and were very close. And then look, what happened after that was, I suppose, what really disappointed me was it was 03, 04, I suppose, after that then, like, going off how well we played, and look, I would have felt we had a very strong side, and then being told then that we weren't, what was it? We weren't, we overachieved. Do you know what I mean? In 2002, that was what the word was then, 03, that we overachieved, and which was horseshit. Do you know what I mean? In my opinion, like, if you look at the team that we had, Paddy Christie, fullback. We had so Clucko goals, Paddy Christie, fullback, myself, centre back, Wheelo, midfield. Either Darren, my brother Darren, or Darren Holman. Centre forward was Desi or Jay, or Collie Moore, and full forward was Cozzy. And then you other lads, you throw in other lads then, the likes of Alan Brogan, Barry Cal, like serious Senan Connell. Like, we got good footballers, Pat Andrews, so like we had good football, we had good side, with good footballers throughout. And then, like, after the 02, then it was Tinker City, like, tinkering with this team, tinkering with that. And Armagh kept their spine. I remember having a conversation with an Armagh guy, and he said, Johnny, he said, it was Bellew, Geezer, McGrain, McEntee, and Clark. And that spine of their team stayed the same. And like, the team, not that it was, but it was built on that spine, if you get me. And every good team needs to have a strong spine. And I suppose that for me was kind of, the regret at that time, was where, like, we got some serious footballers through each line, but for whatever reason, look, I'm not going to get into it, but it was, for me, it was one of the main reasons why that group weren't allowed kick on, because they weren't given the kind of the backing that they should have got in that year, like in 2002. The positivity and the support we got, and the go and play football was unbelievable. And then after that, then it was like, overachieved, that blah blah blah, But that was disappointing. Look, I suppose that's I do look at that as a regret, because I've definitely felt there was an honour in that side. Of all the years that we were there while I was playing, that was definitely the year I felt that group should have won the All-Ireland. Came close in 07, my last year being involved. Kerry bet us by 2, but I definitely would have felt 02 was probably the year of between 02 and 11. That was probably, I would have felt, probably would have been the best year of that area,
100%, yeah. Like, and obviously you mentioned some of the players you played with, like the likes of Desi, the likes of Jo, and obviously you had a few emerging players back then as well, like the likes of Stephen Cluxton coming into the team, Alan Brogan as well. What did you make of them when they first came into the team, and in particular Stephen Cluxton? Like, I suppose looking at the ceiling and looking at how good he's got over the past 10 to 15 years, like, could you ever have imagined like he would get to that level that he's at today?
No, I definitely would have seen him getting to that level. Would I have thought that would they've been as successful? No, definitely not. In terms of, the lads are like, Clucko, in terms of Clucko's standard is, that's him through and through. Would have, when we were training, was always the first of training, out on the training pitch, practices kickouts, practicing, shot stopping, practicing everything. But what I felt was that group of players that they had, that obviously he was part of, the standard that he had, he was allowed to impose that standard, I suppose, with the rest of the group. And I suppose that was, like, when Gilroy came in, I would have felt like I finished 07, but I would have felt that there was kind of, more, it was a more individual kind of atmosphere over that period of time, rather than the collective, if you get me. And like Gilroy took him 3 years to kind of get that out of the lads. And I think that was the kind of thing where, look, you can go into, I'm not going to go into deep now, but, there was, there was more of a camaraderie on a click and different areas. And that was the probably times when things got a little bit tough then. That's when you would have felt that Dublin didn't respond in some of those games, where, because it was more of individuals being left exposed rather than the team collective, where Giller's, in fairness to the guy, in fairness to him, doesn't get as much credit as he should for what he did with that for that group. You know, like the first couple of years, the start of later weeks, and then just rip up the script book and went totally like early morning sessions. Got fellas who like tested the lads who really wanted it, and come out and win it in 2011. Like and totally took the lads out of their comfort zone, which had to happen. Like in order for to achieve. And look, I suppose Gilroy coming off kind of a being from a big club like Vincent's, and the standard that's expected to be a Vincent's player, very similar to what's expected to be a Crokes player when I was playing, and what's expected, what would have been expected of me and of the lads and Crokes would be similar what Gillers would have had with Vincent's. What's expected for them to be Vincent's players, and that would have been that would have been a lot to the forefront of what he would have based all that stuff off of Mickey as well. Like, and Mickey was ahead of his time in terms of training, and it was a shame that Mickey was my first Dublin manager, and like how he was treated that back then was a disgrace. And he had huge ambitions for the lads, and I remember having a conversation with was it Eamon Heary's wedding, and he was on about building a team with the likes of Wheelo, Paddy Christie, Robbo, myself, all these young lads that were only starting to come in. And then what happened then after that? Look, I'm going off Gale a small bit, but he would have had that standard. Mickey would have had a standard of what was expected to be a Dublin player when he played, when he won, and then obviously with Vincent's what was expected. So I think that was the thing. It was the standard accountability and standard that Clucko would have been allowed to implement in that group, from that era. And I think that was the one thing. And then when you have that standard of the group, then you have accountability, but it's not just it's with each other. So it's not the manager who was dictating everything. No, this is what's expected of you to be a Dublin player, and you hold each other accountable as players rather than the manager coming in and dictating and having to watch everything. So when you have a dressing room that's player led, it makes life so much easier for the manager and coaches because they've created a standard, the culture themselves, and that's what I suppose the culture that group built in that time period under Gillers, fed into what happened, with the 5-6 in a row, and that's where it stemmed from. And look, Clucko would have been a big part of that culture and environment. And look, you always felt that he was definitely a special player, and Alan Brogan as well, and these guys, definitely you could see that there was something about them. But particularly Clucko, Clucko was probably pound for pound, probably himself and James McCarthy for me are probably the two best, most consistent performers that over the last 15 years. Probably two of the best footballers ever. Would definitely be in my 15 all time ever best footballers. But yeah, look, it was a pleasure to play with them. And look, come here, listen, Clucko wasn't the finished article when he started off, and he knows that himself. But like how he worked on his game and how he went about conduct himself and willing to learn, I suppose, like that's massive credit to him, but also to the coaches, like Johnny Magee and a few others and Davy Bourne that would have been involved with him at that time. And that's just kind of ownership of it,
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, definitely I suppose the rise over the past 10 to 15 years of Cluxton's definitely been phenomenal. All right, like, and I suppose obviously like in 2005 you're kind of alluding to, I suppose, when Pat Gilroy came in, but I suppose just before that, obviously under Pillar Caffrey, like winning that 2005 Leinster title against Laois. Do you think that was even maybe like the first? Because I've heard Bernard Brogan and a few other lads kind of speak before, they were saying like that was the first kind of big step towards eventually ending the drought for the All Ireland. Would you look at 2005 in a similar way as well?
Yeah, no, listen, I wasn't involved in 05 or 06. I came in back in 07. Yeah, no, definitely. Look, I suppose Pillar came in and he changed the kind of the mindset of what was expected. And would have that 05 Leinster final was definitely, particularly after what happens 03, 04, where it was we would have been favourites against, what was it, Laois in 03, they turned us over in Westmeath in 04, and both teams went on to win Leinster, and both times we would have taken it for granted. you know, and I suppose the learnings that and Pillar was involved with that group, so Pillar would have taken the learnings of what happened the previous 2 years and implemented and made sure he had all the boxes covered in fairness, which he did. So, like, from that point of view, that was a big turning point. But I think it was a big enough turning point. But in terms of, there was still a bit to go in terms of reaching the Holy Grail in terms of the All Ireland, and I think that was the kind of, you know, it kind of started from there. But I definitely don't think I don't. Oh, five. It's a big gap. 5 to 2011. You know, I know the lads say, look, that was the start of it, but, like, you know, being honest, I would have expected them to be beaten. Like, we should have. Look, there's different reasons why you could say we were beaten by Westmeath or Laois, but, you know, there was, you know, for me, we're teams that we had were good enough to beat those teams, and it was just other stuff that accumulated and why they didn't. You know, look, I suppose they start creating their own culture or standard of 05, but and won the Leinster final, and I think was it 5 in a row, was it, or 4? Was it 5 in a row?
I think it was 4 until 2010. I think.
Yeah, it was it 05, 06, 07, 08, 09, wasn't it? I think 5.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, look, come here. But then as it came down to, look, I suppose, when the shit hit the fucking fan though, that's when we, like, you know, against Mayo and against Tyrone, like, at different stages, the kind of, you know, the collective, or how far are you willing to push yourself, or how far are you willing to sacrifice? And I suppose that's where I think not that the lads we didn't ever, or the lads weren't ever pushed themselves. I suppose I think it was just a small bit that we're missing. I suppose the accountability and the kind of, you know, ownership, but dealing with pressure. And I think that was I think the publicity, the momentum, you know, I think that's where at times we probably didn't have the collective just right at those times when things went bad. We kind of went inwards rather than go out or express ourselves more. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's where the psychology side of it, where, you know, the 3 years with Gillers, I think that's what kind of brought him over the white line, if you so to speak. But look, Pillar and the lads, the guys of Clarkey and Ski Wade and Brian Talty brought a lot of professionalism to the group, and, you know, enhanced on it, which was great. And then, look, I would have felt maybe that team was definitely good enough to win an All Ireland. I, like, you know, probably I would have felt 02, as I said already, but I think the team who played 02 against the team that probably played was it Mayo? Was it Mayo? Was it 9 or no? What's the year when? Remember when we were 7 points up or something?
I think it was Mayo 2006. I think, was it?
Was 06? Yeah, okay.
I think so. Yeah.
You know, and then that's where, like, I suppose the rootless side of things, where, you know, the psychological side of things is what we probably need to get right in our game, and that was probably the thing where we would have been seen as a kind of a soft touch, if you get me, which is hard to kind of accept, because look, and that's where if you go at Dublin and causing problems, you know, you'll open them up. But look, come here. It was definitely the start of the standard of what was expected. And I think the bar, like Pillar and the lads, in fairness to them, raised the bar in terms of standards of what's expected as a Dublin player. And then the likes of Berno and Clucko and those lads, they took it on then to the next level. But I think Gilroy, you know, when he came in, he forced them into questioning them. Like, you know, I think he played Berno wing back for a while to show him how it was like to play in the back line. So in order, when you make a run, you have to make 10 runs to make sure you get one ball or something like that. So look, I think Berno, the lads are right in terms of the setting the wheel in motion, but you wouldn't think it would take another 6 years or so before we got there. That was probably the biggest disappointment about that area as well, you know.
Yeah, and I suppose obviously you were alluding to it there, like when Gilroy came in, I suppose it was a big change, obviously in 2011, like when Dublin eventually did go on to win the All Ireland. And I know obviously you weren't in the team at that point, but I suppose looking at like 2008 and 2009 when Dublin were beaten very heavily by Tyrone and then Kerry, and you were kind of saying there like the different psychological impacts and kind of players being more as or players being more collective rather than individuals. But would you look at that as the main kind of turning point, or would you even look towards anything else that maybe helped in turning the corner for Dublin in that year?
Yeah, no, I think it was just I think it was the kind of taking lads out of their comfort zone and for putting them in a situation where they have to dig deep and knowing how to respond in adversity. And I suppose the fact of they had been beaten quite heavily in those couple of years, something had to change. And like, I think the trust thing is a big issue or a big thing for me in terms of trusting lads beside you. Not obviously trust lads, but I think when the shit hits the fan, so to speak, that you have to you can trust the guy beside you that he's going to get a tackle in. I think that was the big thing, was that listen to the lads of that era, like Caroline Curry came in and and Gilroy brought her in and the what you're thinking about X, Y, and Z and forcing them to think outside the box and forcing them to kind of question them and what you need to do, I suppose. And these are things that, like, I suppose that Pat would have like looked at himself and seen what they had with Vincent, and but also would have self-reflected on himself in terms of the time when they didn't win in 09 and 2010 in terms of the start of their weeks. And he went and he analysed himself, and I think that self-analysis on that's what the lads start doing more, and what do they need to do more themselves, away from the fields, in order to get their best out on the field, if you get me. So what's it going to take when I don't have the ball? I'm going to have to work my socks off to get the ball back as quickly as possible, or who do I cover? What do I have to do? And I suppose you have to push yourself onto that until you physically feel sick, mentally and physically, to know exactly what you want. Do you know what I mean? Or you've done it on the training field. And I suppose from that point of view, is that, like, I think that's where the lads, it took a little bit longer than they thought, supposedly, but that's where, like, you look at the Tyrone team that time against the Siege, remember, against Kerry, where you'd seen them converge on, and it's that Siege mentality, and I think that's what we were lacking in that period. In my opinion, was that to go to that extreme lengths of sacrificing yourself, that's going to make it physically and emotionally sick. That and until you weren't going to do that, the lads were never going to cross that line. I think that's where, and looking and reading and listening to different things over the last few years from that time, that's where I think Gilroy pushed to get that out of them, because that's where they had to go to, that place where you've never been before. I think that's where the psychology side of it would have come into it.
100%, yeah. Like, and could you ever have imagined really like the success that they've had since then, like the way they've kicked on? I suppose win again in 2013, and then I suppose from 2015 up until now.
Yeah, no, look, listen, look, come here. Huge admiration for them to keep that consistency and the standard of group, because it takes an awful lot, and like they deserve a lot of credit for it. But but the other, like, come here. This is just me being, like, for me, there's the other counties I feel is a drop off, in terms of like what they, there's lots of different excuses that's coming out, like, those lads are seizing an opportunity. I remember talking to Johnny Cooper, and I mentioned there earlier there about player driven, and I remember the conversations because Johnny is player driven, and that's how any dressing room that I've been lucky to be successful with in, it was player driven. Particularly in my Crokes area, that it was that kind of Siege mentality, high standards, accountability, all the stuff that's expected, and like players dealing with each other if they were late or they were mistraining or they were drinking or whatever. That was accountability with each other, and so that stuff, that Dublin have that standard, and that's what's expected of you now, and that's now the norm. That's normal. So for me, that's the drop off in terms of other counties how like that's for me is that the drop off and a combination of the drop off in terms of accountability. And I'm not saying they're all probably training as hard now, but in terms of are they going doing their skills, they're going to doing their S&C, they're going to do the recovery, all that kind of stuff. And then you throw in the combination then of clubs that they're playing with, what kind of style of football are they playing? Are they playing that like? Because I remember when Donegal won the All Ireland that time, like every club, and then all the teams I was watching was playing possession football, blanket defenses, football going nowhere, and that has had an effect, and a hangover effect, in my opinion, on how players and teams have, and you can still see it to this day. And I suppose the drop off of quality. And the thing is, look, I compare, and it's very hard to compare. Like I look at this Dublin team and what they've achieved has been phenomenal. Would they have beaten if they're in that era of when Tyrone, Armagh, Kerry, of the noughties, the down team that. Of the 90, 91 and 94, or the May team in 96, and and Galway the 2 years. So like I would have loved to see them compared to play with those teams because they were serious teams, and that's the thing. So are the teams the way I ask people, and people say, "Oh, the question." I said, "Look, if you look at the previous All Ireland winners, I said, are any of the teams as good as what of the teams I just mentioned there, Tyrone, Kerry, Galway, are any of them as good as those teams? No. Well then, but there you go. There's the answer in itself, because until we have teams are willing to take Dublin on, and that's the problem, is that Dublin go out and teams are giving them possession straight away. They are not asking questions of them. And Kerry that time when they got the draw match, they took them on and they should have won the game. And look, it was down to Dublin's kind of mentality and the confidence of sticking to the game and the process is what Jim called it. But no one has taken Dublin on since then like that. Do you know what I mean? Or Mayo in 2017. That was the next one. So Mayo 2017 and Kerry 2019 are the last two times that Dublin have been questioned or pushed to the pin of their collar. And look how close the teams got to win. And has it been done since? No. So look, I suppose when you're looking at that point of view, but look, listen, when you throw in the quality of footballers that they have as well, and how they've replenished each year, or the years like Sean Bugler last year, Paddy Small, they've been very smart in terms of bringing the players in and introducing it and keeping a healthy competition. And I suppose that's the one thing that Jim did, was that healthy competition, bringing lads in. It was all about the team, and we had no loyalties to top footballers like Berno or Paul or Finner or any of those lads. And I suppose it was about what was the best decision on the team, and it wasn't personal with Jim. It was what he felt was right for the team, and he was able to have that luxury. Do you know what I mean? With the quality of players, but you won't have that luxury unless the players are all bought into it. And I suppose great credit goes to the likes of Darren Daly and these guys that have been soldiering with, I know he's a selector now and stuff, but like to be pushing yourselves to the maximum. And look, Dennis Bastig's another one. Like huge admiration for Dennis Bastig. I remember playing 07 was my last year involved, and Bassi was out playing, and Bassi we were playing A's and B's. As myself and Wheelo and Darren and Shane Ryan in the midfields, like an A and B match, and Bassi was over on the sideline and he was number 31 or 2, like he wasn't even on it, and it didn't stop his motivation. And he goes on, what has he got, 5-6 All Irelands? Just goes to show you, the mentality monster that he is, and what the lads are. Now I'm using Jurgen Klopp's phrase, but that's what the lads are, mentality monsters in terms of how they go about it, and they're being selfish in how they want to go about things. And look, they see an opportunity now that they're building their legacy, where like they want to make sure that this will never be repeated, and you can hardly blame them for it,
Yeah, and I suppose like you were alluding to it there, like where I suppose how close Kerry came in 2019 and Mayo in 2017. Who would you see maybe is the closest to beating the Dubs at the moment? Would it be Kerry or Mayo? Or I suppose Tyrone have made a few changes to their management recently as well.
Yeah, no, look, I suppose you can't look past Kerry or Mayo or like Donegal and Tyrone. I'm hoping you can see Tyrone are kind of. The thing is, I can see the game that they're trying to play, but I don't know if they have the footballers out the field to put the ball into where Canavan, Canavan is, and a couple of others player forwards that they have. That's the issue I have, or well, not the issue. I just want that's the thing where I can see what they're trying to do, and the problem is it's very hard to go from playing a certain style for so long under Mickey Hart, and then now it's going to go totally the other way in terms of playing forward football and kicking the ball more. So it's a big change. So I like to see that they will be given the proper time, because I definitely feel that, look, they definitely have the talent and players to do it, but it's, and particularly what we're in at the moment in terms of pandemic and stuff, so they wouldn't have had as much time to work on their game plan in terms of kicking the ball and how they want to play their football. But I think they're one to watch. I'm hoping that Kerry and Mayo will come with something a bit more different and ask questions of Dublin more. But you can't look. I suppose Donegal. I'm looking forward to seeing how Donegal do. I felt they took their eye off the ball last year, but I think, look, it's between Donegal and Kerry, in my opinion, that will force Dublin. But will go closest to Dublin this year if they get their houses in order.
Yeah, and I suppose like do you even think that the Dublin team even get the credit they deserve in many ways? Because I suppose like winning six in a row, it's obviously never been done at men's level before, and I suppose a phenomenal achievement. But I suppose last year, obviously, there was a lot of talk about splitting the dubs and funding, resources, and all the rest. Like, do you think they get the credit they deserve, or do you think maybe those people have a point?
Yeah, look, I don't need to get the credit they deserve. Look, there is, like, you can. There is an argument out there. You know, a lot of they're like about funding and everything else. Like I've mentioned, look, here when I was involved with Wicklow and stuff like that, you can see that, like, in terms of funding and sponsorship, and trying to get lads getting paid mileage and stuff. So there is an argument there in terms of what other counties should be getting, or what they should be doing. But I think in terms of the caliber of players, like, it's not the money that's getting the lads to play or be a skillful, like, they're going out on their own, uh practicing themselves, like their right and left foot, left hand, right hand, all that kind of stuff, free taking, all the stuff that's expected. And, like, that was a given for me. I suppose the thing is, like, what you find is that they've married the two very well in terms of their physique and their skill set. And I don't think other counties have married the skill set and the physique as well as what Dublin have. And that's where I would see, well, what have they done? Like, what have they done over the last 10 years? Well, this is what the lads have done. This is the program they're doing. This is the skill training that they're doing. You know, okay, well, is that being implemented in other counties? And to cut out all the kind of financial stuff, have a flat rate across the board and say, look, this is what's happening. This is what it should be done, or about PR stuff and advertisement and everything else. So look, there's an argument for both, but I just think it's been like, I can't see another generation of footballers coming like that. What has come like so far, with these lads, but and for me, there's been a drop off as well. Like, so, like, lads are top footballers. Don't get me wrong, are top side, and are, look, they're going to be legends for the rest of their lives, and a fantastic team. But in terms of the quality of opposition, is not as strong, as my opinion, as what would have been maybe back 10 years ago. You know what I mean? So there's a bit of a both, but then there's all the stuff for the finance and everything else, of funding, and the Dublin model, when you're, like, getting GPOs, like, myself and stuff involved in different areas or skills. But look, Mir, it's an argument that will keep going on. But look, I can't see it lasting for too much longer. you know, um, hopefully not, because it kills me to say that, because look, I think it's good for the game that look that someone else will win the All Ireland, but at this moment in time, I just think the lads are just kind of the mindset and the skill set they have is, is top drawer, and like, it's just they see an opportunity now, and they're going to make themselves into the mere mortals at this stage, so it's hard not to look past them, really.
Yeah, 100%. It's definitely going to be interesting to see, I suppose, how it goes over the next few years for Dublin. But I suppose looking at your time, obviously with Kilmacud Crokes as a player, I suppose you've 5 senior titles, 3 Leinster titles, 1 All Ireland title. Fond memories, I'd imagine there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. Look, been very, very lucky to be a part of some good teams over the time I was playing with Kilmacud. Would have had some serious footballers, serious teams that would play with. But like it was kind of off the back of what the Crokes senior team did in '95, winning the club All Ireland. I suppose I was only 15 years of age when that happened, and like off the back of that, then it was like when myself and Cosy came in to the team. This is what was expected of us as senior players with Kilmacud. So like I remember we did sprints, or one of our first or second session in. It's like I was 16 or something, or 17, and we did a rake of, was it 2100s, I can't remember. It was something bleeding mad anyway. And myself and Ray won near enough the first 5 or 6, and then we kind of coasted through the next 10, and then won the last 5, if you get me. And I got a clip around the ear off one of the senior players and said, "Don't you ever come and do that again." I said, "You try and win every single race, not just win a few, mind yourself, and then win the last few." I said, "That's not how it works." And I suppose that team, but like they would have regretted not winning more another All Ireland because of the age profile. But I suppose from then that was expected. Then this is what's expected of you to be a Kilmacud Crokes player. This is what you have to do. And I suppose then it was player led within the group, and I suppose that's what stemmed from success then of being involved with the 5 Dublin titles and the 3 Lancers and the All Ireland club, and I was lucky to captain that team. But it was the accountability and the standards that was set. And like the year we won the All Irelands, we had met prior, I think it was 12, 15 months prior in the hotel in Slaughter Park Hotel, and we were in there for 3 hours, and it was about the buy-in factor, and about lads drinking, about because we had won 2 in a row. We won Dublin in 04 and 05, got beaten by Portlaoise in the semi-final Leinster, and then the following year we come back, won Leinster, and then we were brought away for training week and celebration week in the first week of January. And it was the worst thing we bleeding did, because we went out, got beaten by Salthill by 2 points, and took our eye off the ball, and then we came back. I suppose we did learn a lesson. I suppose then we had the year Vincent's won. During the year previous to us, we bet Vincent's in the first round of the championship. We bet them by 6 or 7 points or something. Bet them well, and then played them 2 weeks out from. There was backdoors back in at that stage. It was the first time the backdoor was in club football, and we played them 2 weeks prior. We got them in the semi-final then. We played them 2 weeks or 3 weeks prior to that semi-final, a league match out in Vincent's, and we bet them well again. I bet them, comfortable enough. And our lads, I knew, and I said to Cosy in the warm-up, I said, we're going to lose this. And he said, yeah. I said, the lads are not tuning in. They just thought, after Vincent's again, we'll be all right. Vincent's bet us by 5 or 6, because our lads didn't see it coming, thought they were going to walk it. And Vincent's went and won the All Ireland that year. And like, it's funny, going off the meeting we had after that, then that was to January. Well, yeah, sorry, it was January 08. And what was it? We had that meeting, but then Paddy's Day, I organised then a piss up in the city bar in town on Paddy's Day, the day Vince's were. Myself and Cosy picked up Brian Kavanagh, who was from Longford. We picked him up in a taxi, and we met the lads all in. Vince's won the All Ireland that day, and that night then all the lads were talking about that's us. It's 12 months time. That's going to be us. That's not happened to us. What happened this year? 12 months later, won it, and like got a bit of luck on the way. As teams do need to win, or when you win All Irelands, you do need to get a bit of luck. We probably got most of our luck in the two matches against Plunkets in the Dublin finals, county finals. But it was just a mindset. It was the attitude, and it was the accountability of holding each other to the standard of what was expected. I think that was the big thing for me of that Crokes era. And Nick, come here, listen, fantastic, delighted, very lucky to be involved with that group and win, and be lucky to win what we did. But still, kind of, we'll look back on a small bit of regret because we should have won at least another one or two more Club All Irelands. We should have, in my opinion, we should be sitting on 3. I should have 3, but because at the time we had standards, but then some fellas just thought we were, or we at times we just felt we just had to turn up, and because of the caliber of player we had in the dressing room, like we had Paul Griffin, Darren, myself, Cosy, Lee McBarron, who was with us from Anna, like he'd be a good friend of mine. He's living in Kilmacud, like set up his family there, so he was involved. We had Adrian Morris. He was involved with Wexford. He's still involved in the club. We had such a good team. Mark Vaughan, Mark Davern, Liam O'Cahanacan, Brian McGrath. If you looked at it, and like all homegrown lads, like bar two, the 2 lads, 3 lads, Adrian Morrissey, Liam McBarron, and Brian Kavanagh were the 3 lads. Everyone else. So we had 27 homegrown Crokes fellas, and that was something that really I enjoyed that part of it. That was most all homegrown by the 3 boys, and the 3 boys are heavily involved in the club. I suppose that we've been criticised before about having, like, years previous, that we were told, every country player, which wasn't a fact. All the fellas that were involved in that 95 team were all living and have sons and all have gone on to play for Kilmacud and stuff. But anyway, look, it was just the kind of that era. I felt at times, we won, we're after winning this, we grand, look, we're not as hungry as next year. Whereas, not having the siege mentality and having, going after, look, lads, look at an opportunity that we have. I suppose that's just being me, the competitor that I am, is that we should have won more. But look, come here. It's the club championship is definitely the hardest competition to win, in my opinion. When you consider where you have a club going to Leinster and then you went to the All Ireland series, it's very lucky, and look, come here, fantastic memories, and look, come here, very, very, very lucky. And then obviously then looking to be involved then as a manager, win the championship, which is great as well. So look, yeah, come here. It was great times, and look, fantastic team, and great memories, yeah.
And I suppose you mentioned going up against Vincent's, and obviously you played Cross McGlen, I suppose, in the final as well. Who would you say would have been the toughest team you came up against in those days? I suppose definitely a lot of tough teams you would have came up against in the All Ireland series or Dublin Senior Football Championship.
I suppose at the time, early part of my career, I suppose the '98 when we first Dublin title, and I suppose that Nafina team was probably our biggest competitor at the time. They bet us. We bet them in '98. They bet us in the semi-final '99, and then they bet us in the final 0-0, and then they won 3 in a row. And I suppose we got beaten, I think, the following year by UCD, the leading UCD team of practically, it wasn't inter-county side. But anyway, look, and then we came to play Nafina again, and it was 08, or sorry, 05. It was when we did a 2 in a row. That side that they had, like, it was an inter-county team, like that, and the led with, they had Geezer, Des Mackin, you had J.O., like Senan, like side with Kevin O'Neill, you know, their team was littered with county stars from other counties, you know, and I suppose the Fianna, the Plunkett's team that we drew with, there was a fantastic side, you know. Should have won a Dublin title, should have won more, I suppose, but I suppose Cross McGann, I suppose the second time we played them, we met them in the semi-final. We won in was it 2010, sorry, they beat us in the semi-final in Navan. I suppose they would have been the tough opponents. And then Road as well, Leinster. We played them twice in Leinster and should have beaten us probably on both occasions. But look, we had that kind of resilience about us and know how to win games when we were even, I think we were 6-7 points down one stage against them in a Leinster final and came back. And then we were down again before I was in Leinster semi-final. Like they were tough battles, and I mean in an era like whereas the pitches wouldn't have been as prunty pitches now or sand-based pitches, you know, back then it was horses for courses. But yeah, I suppose in the Fianna, Plunkett's probably outside then Road and Cross, yeah. So but yeah, look, fantastic teams, look here, and but great journey or great times, because you know the journey you go on and the amount of time you spend with lads, because you know, if you think of it, you're with lads from like if you win a Dublin Championship, you're with lads for over a year, solid, like from January all the way through, bar having a few weeks off here and there, but like, you know, and you know, it's gas. What the saying is, your county mates will go to your wedding, but your club mates will carry your coffin or something like that. You know, with the, I'm hoping the lads will be able to lift the coffin with my stay by the time I get there. But anyway, but yeah, no, look, come here, Jesus, those games were some serious games, and the battles with the Fianna, look, they were great battles, and look, it was, I suppose, when we bet them in 05, really kind of was a big win for me, because they had beaten us 2 years in the bounce, semi-final and final, and they went out and they won the 3 in a row, and then obviously won Leinster, but they missed out, I suppose, coming back then of us being dominant then in Dublin and winning Leinster, and then going on and winning the All-Ireland, I suppose, was kind of, you know, for me then, there was a bit of bragging rights then, because look, at the time, Sen and Connell was going out with my sister-in-law, so it was, we had a couple of battles together and coming back into the in-laws' house, and them after beating us, and then a couple of years later, then obviously when we bet them in 05, then like that I was able to say, you know, got the run up on them. But like, yeah, come here, look, they were great teams in fairness, and some fantastic battles, you know, fantastic players.
Yeah, and I suppose obviously you've gone into management since then, obviously as well with Kilmacud Crokes. Like, was that always the aim when you were a player? Like, did you always think like I'll give management a go? Like once the days of playing are over.
Yeah, no, it definitely was. I suppose, like when I finished playing with Dublin, I knew it was kind of, and then Crokes, I knew, particularly after when I finished with Dublin, you know, like playing for Dublin since you're like 10 years of age and playing at every age all the way through, and then playing minor 21s and senior, you know, it felt like a death. Struggled now to get my head around that, because, you know, something that I've like, you know, that I was good at, and like not the sharpest knife in the drawer, do you know what I mean? And I'm not academically, I'm dyslexic. So for me, when you had something like that, and it was something I was always good at, and well, deemed to be so supposedly good at, you know, that was dealing with that was a debt. So I struggled with that, and then like to get my head around it. Then I was obviously threw myself into Crokes and went on to win. But I when I was struggling with dealing with not playing for Dublin anymore, you know, I said, what am I going to do when the Crokes thing comes around? Because look, obviously the club's my club, and obviously it means more to you as when it's your club. Now, listen, it's very hard to pick one over the other, but obviously, you know, but I said to myself, I'm going to have to do something. And I like when it comes to finishing with my club, because there's no way I can go through that bit of kind of, you know, self-doubt and, you know, dealing with the kind of anger and the stuff that I had when I finished with Dublin. So I just knew myself. I said, look, Jesus, I'll get the management. It'd be the next best thing, or coaching, to get in. And you're in the dressing room. You go through every emotions. You're involved. The only thing you're not doing is playing. And and I suppose that's when it kind of kicked in and said, okay, well, look, and that's what I'm going to do when I finish playing with Kilmacud. And I suppose in the back of my head, like when I finished playing with with Crokes in 2012, my last game was when Ballymun bet us in the county final 2012. And look, I didn't want to go out that way, but look, I suppose it was funny, my wife leading into that season, she was saying to me, like, I was rolling out of bed after training the next morning, and like, well, I still have no cruciate in my knee. So like I'm 20, we're 20, yeah. So 2022, yeah. So 19 years with no cruciate in my knee. But like at that stage, it was just like, normally it'd take 2 days to recover and I'll be okay. So Tuesday be training. I'd normally be fine by Thursday. If you get me, the body and the back and the hip. And I suppose what was happening was it was just going from Tuesday. I wasn't getting recovered, or the soreness wasn't gone by the Thursday. It was just kind of, getting to that stage, okay. So I just knew myself then, look, when 2012 came around, I just pulled away. And it killed me to pull away, but I pulled away and then I started coaching. I managed Curraha, small club. I live in Ashburn I'm 16 years in Ashburn now, so I was commuting across back and forth for 7 years when I was playing with Kilmacud. But so Ashburn or Curraha is just a small village beside here in Ashburn, so I was with them. So I went in straight away, but I knew myself that in order for me to try and to be the best for Kilmacud, I needed to go away. And my thought process was to kind of, to try and cut my teeth, make the mistakes away from Kilmacud, and learn from them, and trying to be as best as a manager or coach I could whenever I did come back to Kilmacud. Now, I didn't think I was going to come back as quickly as we did, but it got to a stage where it was like, I could no longer, as a former player, look at the shite that was going on ahead of me, or that we were coming up with, like, or how we were playing our football. I suppose it wasn't the Kilmacud Crokes way of playing football, and that was probably the frustration that I suppose myself and Robbie Brennan had when we decided to go together and put our names forward, because I could no longer sit back and watch what was going on, because what I was looking at was a replica of what like, Donegal and like Tyrone football, like negative. I call it crab football. If this, going sideways, going nowhere, and if the football posts were on the sideline, so they would be the best football team in the country. But unfortunately, that's not the fact. So like that, so that was the reason why we put a package together. And look, I think that was the reason why we got back in sooner. So that was the reason why I got back involved. But and look, hopefully, I got involved. I'm not involved now. I pulled away this year. So hopefully, maybe down the line again, I get back involved with them. But look, club's my club, so I'll always be willing to help out in any way possible. And look, for me, that we've only won one championship. Was it? We're now 2021. Obviously, we won in 2018. So one championship since 2010, not good enough, in my opinion. That's not what I was brought up with. So yeah, look, I suppose that's just me being a competitor, and the standard I would have been brought up with, when the standard that we would have, myself and Ray and Darren and all, trying to impose on the next group coming from behind us, and that's for me is like, one championship since in how many years is that? 2010, so 28. What's that? One championship in 11 or something. Not good enough in my opinion. So look, yeah, hopefully come down. I'll be involved down the line. But look, I think from that point of view, that's the reason why I got back involved, was to kind of get back and get back to where the top table is, about competing in county finals and winning county finals. So yeah, it was nice. It was definitely extra special to be involved in that one.
Yeah, and I'd say as well, like with the pandemic, obviously last year and continuing into this year, like I know you're heavily involved with Geraldine Mourns as well. So I suppose I'd imagine like that had a huge effect, obviously on both clubs, I suppose, and especially during management as well, and all the different changes and everything else that I suppose that's been brought into the game because of the pandemic.
Yeah, I suppose. Look, you just have to be extra cautious about everything, making sure lads, and it's very hard. Like I feel for the players, because I would have struggled. I know myself would have struggled if it was me as a player, because being considered that you can't go and do this and you can't go and do that, and the in terms of like your close contacts and making sure you're not, you're going into a house party, or if you're a young lad of 20 something years of age and you're trying to tell them, look, don't be going back to a party. Particularly last summer, like when things opened up and we looked like we were coming out of it, and then making sure, telling lads, look, don't be getting yourself caught back in a party, blah blah, X, Y, and Z, and I suppose for those lads to be sitting in doing Zoom sessions, like in fairness to the Crokes lads last year, like Des Ayres, who was S&C guy, he did the gym with them was it 3 times a week, and you just lads would log in and do their gym work over the Zoom call. And in fairness to the lads, he did that, and credit to them, because I'm sure they weren't the only ones. A lot of other clubs are doing it, but like they're the things like that you admire the lads more for, and then I suppose, and then coming out of it, then like the having the resilience and still the discipline to mind themselves, where it could have easily just kind of said, come here, like we don't know what's going on, and to be able to do that and not have nothing guaranteed at the end of it. Like it's very hard. It's very similar to if you take over a team and there's no guarantee that you're going to win that championship that year. So when you're selling something to somebody, it's like there has to be a bit of a faith in terms of, look, there's no guarantee in this, but if you do this, and this, it will contribute an awful lot to get to there. But there's no guarantee in it. So when there's nothing even to guarantee, or there's any football in it like that, or when there's next game's going to be, a lot of resilience stems from that. And like I admire not just the Crokes lads, but the Jers lads, any club team that have been doing that kind of stuff, and keep themselves sane. Because like I know when I was playing, I lived to breathe it. I was going from training, Lauren's matches, my matches, and it was like, like I would have struggled, let's say. But look, in fairness to them, with all the stuff that's going on, look, I take my hat off to any young lad that's putting training and has mind himself throughout all the lockdowns, but you're hoping now that they'll stay, like we're out the other side of it, But look, huge admiration for the lads, in fairness to them,
Yeah, and I suppose from a Kilmacud Crokes point of view, like obviously, how would you reckon you'll get on in the 2021 Dublin Senior Football Championship whenever it does come around? I suppose obviously Paul Mannion's not in the Dublin Senior Football panel, so I suppose he'll be fresh, and I'd imagine raring to go for that as well.
Yeah, no, listen, look, the lads we got beaten last year in the semi-final, so like the lads would have known themselves that they wouldn't have performed as best they could against Ballymun. Definitely would have felt they had more to offer. So you're hoping. Well, I'm hoping, look, as like looking in now for this year, that look the lads would have learned their lessons from that. I suppose the disappointment over the last couple of years that we didn't kick on after the win in 2018. Like we got beaten by Davis in the semi-final in 2019. That was more down to ourselves than that. Now, like, look, Davis were the better team on the night, but lads need to look at them, or didn't need to look at themselves a little bit more about after that. But like I suppose, look, we have a lot of talent there. We've a lot of good footballers. Like Paul Mannion's a class act. One of the best forwards in the country. So I'm hoping, look, that with a bit of he might like he'd be looking forward and raring to go. Like, and I'm sure like that he'd be a bit like probably fresher, probably needed a break, maybe that he needed. But Paul is his own man. But definitely will be a huge plus for us as a club. Look, you've seen how good he was for us in 2018 and how good he was in the county final against Jude's. He was unmarkable. And look, a fit, raring to go Paul Mannion would cause problems against any backline or any defender. So look, yeah, I'm hoping that the lads will learn and would have seen that they probably didn't perform to their best against Ballymun last year. So I'm hoping that they'll hold on to that horse and push them on for this season, because that's what I used to do. Was that was any year we weren't successful or we were beaten, I used to try and use that motivation and her to push me on for the following season. So look, like Ballymun are going to be a serious team again. This time it's a different way around, so they're coming back off. County season, whereas last year it was club and then county. So you're wondering what way, how much of an effect will that have? Because look, previous years, like seeing that, the lads coming off of a big county campaign and then having to come in and play club, and after celebrating whatever it was 5 in a row, or, or 4 in a row, like it's very hard to try and get your head around when you're creating history for the first time. And in fairness to Mano and Keane and Rory, when they came back in that time when we won the 2018, they were excellent, and credit to them. So it'll be interesting to see when it's flipped around this year, particularly when you have Ballymun, who've got so many fellas involved out there, when they're looking, there's a few Crokes lads out there at the moment, but look, hopefully, with Mano not being involved this year, it might be a bit more of a plus for us. And look, fingers crossed, the lads going to do well. Like, as a Crokes man, I don't want to see them. We'd like to see them do, obviously, win it. But look, there's nothing guaranteed. The lads will know that themselves. Look, and we've got a lot of good footballers, Shane Cunningham and Shane Horn and Darren Mullen, and so lads, look, they've got the talents. So look, it's just about getting it out on the field and making sure that they put themselves in a position to win it. But look, we'll see how it goes.
100%, yeah. Well, I suppose I put out like a poll there just on Facebook earlier, and there was a few questions that came there. Like, I suppose, like, who would have been the best player you played with in your time playing for both club and county?
County, probably your Jamie. I suppose, look, Clucko obviously will be up there because I played with Clucko for a few years, but I wouldn't have seen Clucko at his best when I was playing, if you get me, what he is now. But I suppose if you're talking about, probably Paul Curran probably be up there, along with Clucko, as the best players I played with. Look, Paul Curran is a class act. Paul Curran would walk into any of those 6-year-old team, in my opinion. Just one of those exceptional footballers. And I had the pleasure of playing with him for a good 5 years, 4 or 5 years there, and it was a great help to me as a young lad coming in as well. Himself and I suppose Eamon Heary and Desi Farrell as a Crokes Southsider coming across from into Northside setting, even though Courier's from Davis, but yeah, look, at the time there was no real Crokes players established and stuff like that, so it was like they put their arm around us and gave us that kind of experience and a bit of reassurance. I suppose, yeah, no, Curry definitely will be up there. Club footballer, I suppose I'm going to pick two. Pat Burke Senior, definitely up there as one of the best club footballers to play with. Probably he was coming out towards the end of his career when I was playing with him, but like what I've seen of him, just exceptional. And then I suppose after that, then yeah, probably look, I played with Keane O'Sullivan, Kevin Nolan, Roy, like the list could go on, but I suppose probably Paul Griffin or Cosy, one of those. I can't pick one over the other. But definitely between the two lads. Sorry, I'm giving you bleeding three there, but yeah,
sure, we'll take it.
Yeah, no, but those three lads definitely I suppose Paul Griffin, Ray Cosgrove, Pat Burke, I suppose. But the lads would have played mostly would have been the two boys, Paul Griffin and Ray Cosgrove. Exceptional footballers.
And I suppose one question that came in that I suppose a lot of people were asking was obviously the charity boxing match in 2004 against Quinton Han. I suppose, like, what are your memories from that, and how did that whole scenario come about, and like how do you reflect back on that now? Because I suppose, like, nowadays it seems like charity boxing and that kind of thing is maybe a done thing, but back then it was definitely I suppose it wasn't really back then, I suppose.
No, it was, look, it was probably the maddest few weeks of my life, or definitely the maddest 6 minutes that I've ever had. There were 3 2-minute rounds.
Yeah.
But I got a phone call. I was Mick O'Keefe saying, look, do you want any money for charity and stuff? I think, what's his name? Gertie had backed out. I initially would have been Graham Gertie backed out, and then they asked myself, and I suppose I probably wouldn't have done it if there was no manager in with Dublin at that stage, and I don't know. I said yes to it, and then I suppose I said yes to it then, and then I couldn't come out of it, but like back out of it because I'd said yes to it. But it was crazy. Like, I mean, you're talking about, like, there's so many different backstories and side stories and that I can't tell you what I'd love to tell you, but like some of the stuff that went on, I mean, like, you're talking, like, some of the stuff that was going on in the background, all I can say was Joe snatched the film.
Yeah.
Yeah. I swear to God, I mean, I was very naive with some of the stuff, but like, come here, it was. Look, the thing was, look, I didn't even train for it. I had two sparring sessions, right? And it was gas. Like, Roddy Collins contacted me out of blue. I mean, it took a life of its own. Like, I mean, it was on the Joe Duffy show, like, saying, like, to get me on to say, oh, like, because I wasn't a licensed boxer, and I was like, it's disgraceful, and like, I had to be a licensed boxer, and what club was going to be signed up to, and then during the boxing club in France, Austin Carew, God bless him, Michael Crew's father, they were the ones who eventually were in my corner. But initially it was supposed to be Roddy Collins and Michael Collins, is it Michael Collins? Steve Collins, Jesus, Michael Collins, Steve. And I met Steve Collins, it was gas. Roddy set up the meeting, and I met Steve Collins in the halfway house, or was it Miles or halfway house? I think it was Miles, Castleknock. An hour and a half talking to Steve Collins about the Eubank fight, or the 2 Eubank fight, where you're going to get it. And then I suppose end up being meeting Michael Crew, then another sporting legend. And but yeah, it just stemmed from raising money for charity, and but all the stuff, like, like the manager from Quinton Han wanted me to throw water on them and stuff, and, like, I mean, it was all this kind of, the what's his name that used to be the promoter for what's his face, Muhammad Ali, the fella, or Tyson, the fella with the hair. What's his name? Oh,
yeah, I can't think of it now either.
The boxing promoter, whatever his name, I can't think of it. He wanted to do all that kind of mad stuff. Like, it was just crazy. And, like, at the time we were in the midst of preparing for the Dublin Championship semi-final, and I broke my nose 2 weeks out from the fight in a match, and like, I had to get not that I got set, I got to put it back in place, but, like, and like, my people said, like, "Geez, you can't fight with a nose." I guess maybe grand, but anyway, so it was just crazy, and, like, I didn't train. I had 2 sparring sessions with Austin Crew and Michael Crew, and that was it. And, like, he had been over for 8 weeks sparring and training up in Longford, and like, I mean, it was surreal. Like, and my mates that I grew up with, hadn't seen in years, all in the National Boxing Arena, and, like, it was just, look, it was look back in it, and fond memory, funny memories, and, like, like, remember like the Paul Courier when the final bell went and the fight was over, Courier runs in, slides in underneath the bottom rope, jumps up now, and the referee thought it was some bleeding lunatic. Courier just grabbing a hold of me, saying well done, and the referee's walking out of the ring. But look, man, it was definitely crazy. It was come here, something that I look back on with a lot of fun memories. But look, I suppose if it was to happen again, I probably wouldn't do it because I think it was just all the different stuff that had gone on in the background. But yeah, look, come here. It was I have some lovely photographs on me, but it was gas. I wouldn't put me mad dad through it again because it wasn't. My dad didn't go because didn't like the thoughts of not training and stuff. Like my mom being like, oh, my son. You know what I mean? Your man will always make sure her sons are all right. But I suppose it was crazy. It was some great stories, which unfortunately can't tell you for different other reasons. But yeah, it was crazy. But yeah, funny, and yeah, like it was just like end up. Your man didn't pay up the all the money in the end, the charity money. So, but look, come here, these things happen. But look, come here, it was definitely crazy. But I don't think I'll ever get to see a county player doing a charity match like that again. You might do it. Sorry, such a publicity or a big thing like that, like a snooker player and stuff like that. I'd say they'll do stuff in there, like they do the boxing nights. That's about it. But amongst their own, but I can't see that ever happen again.
Yeah, no, that's definitely quite I suppose, a unique occasion because I don't think there's been any other Gaelic footballers or hurlers or anything like that have ever been in a boxing match, whether it be licensed or not. But yeah, look, listen, cheers anyway, Johnny, for coming on. I appreciate your time and looking back, obviously, at your time playing for Dublin and Kilmacud Crokes. And yeah, sure, best of luck with whatever comes next.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks very much, Aaron.